always, I suppose, hockey's been pretty much bred into my family, and as a youngster I was sort of walking around with a hockey stick at a very young age of probably 3 and 4. Went right through in Queensland representative teams and 16s, 18s, 21 seniors and Australian 21s, and then I had a change of coaches with Queensland in the seniors. I was dropped from selection, I think, at the age of about 25 from the Queensland seniors, and at that point in time I basically decided that I wouldn't continue to nominate for Queensland as a player, and that I'd take on another passion, which was another part of the sport, which ended up being umpiring.
And who got you into that? There must have been someone.
Yes, that comes back to my mother Myrtle. She has always been a person who's given a lot to the game of hockey through coaching juniors for many, many years, and being a volunteer and looking after every committee possible in her hometown of Gympie. So it was my mother who always asked me to give something back to the sport, and she said very few people went into umpiring. So she asked me if I would basically return a favour to her over the years and give something back, and so I did in the end say, yes, I will do that for you. And so once I got my basically Australian badge, I handed it to her and said, well, that's the end of my umpiring. I've returned the favour to you for all your efforts over the years. Yes, I've been very fortunate actually. My husband's been a sports person and has pretty much always encouraged me and said that it's too late when you're too old. Continue on in the sport and be involved and take any opportunity that comes your way. So I've been very fortunate up there, and then I've got my 2 daughters, Jade and Brooke, who have basically continued on in hockey themselves as well, and they've been very happy to travel parts of the world in the last few years and been to Beijing, and we'll be going to London as well to watch. So yeah, it is.
So you got them to pick up a whistle?
Well, actually, my 2 daughters have started umpiring a bit of school hockey, but I think there's just so much pressure on them to perform to the same level that their mother does that they are a little bit hesitant to take it on much further, but they are starting to do some junior hockey umpiring. Yeah, golden whistle is basically one of the pinnacles in hockey umpiring. The idea is, doesn't matter how many matches you've done combined junior and senior, it's being able to get those 100 matches up of the senior games as such. So yeah, I think there's only 3 of us in Australia who, in the women's, have actually been able to achieve that to today. Yeah, that was the World Cup in Perth, and that would certainly be the highlight. I umpired the gold medal game there with my best friend in hockey, Marylise de Klerk, who's a South African umpire.
She got a 200.
She's actually just retired, yes, and she's actually done a 200 international matches as such. So that was probably still the most exciting, I think, reward as an umpire, to be able to be doing a gold medal game with your best friend in the hockey circle. So I still pretty much go to 3 state championships every year to develop other umpires and coach up and coming people. I think it'd be a shame if I actually didn't pass on some of my knowledge that I've been given over the years. So I usually go to under 15s and under 18s, and then the Premier League, or as it is now, Super League. Yeah, but I suppose one of the probably most particular ones that I find is not understood well is probably what players are allowed to do when it comes to being able to bring down the high ball with the stick basically above the shoulder. The thing that makes it probably the easiest for people to recognise is that if it's a misjudgment when you're trying to actually play the ball at shoulder height, providing your stick is level with your shoulder, you're actually allowed to bring the ball down. But the moment you actually start tilting the hook of the stick up in the air or above your head, it then becomes pretty much what we call illegal, and quite often you're looking for a yellow card, because most of the time the ball will go over your head, but you're choosing to play at the ball, which is totally different to just a misjudgment and you know, basically just trying to bring a high ball down. So that misjudgment, we more or less will just penalise if it's just above the shoulder with just a free hit. But once you start putting that stick above the shoulder and choosing to bring a ball down, that's what would normally go over your head, that's when we actually award the yellow cards. When it comes to being able to play the ball above the shoulder, a lot of the time it's actually not about the danger, it's more about they're just trying to keep the stick below the shoulder, because there becomes that fine line of how high do we let them take that stick above the shoulder before it does become a problem when there are people around. And that's really much why they've just sort of tried to make it as black and white as they can, and they've just looked for shoulder height is probably the easiest thing to judge. So it does make it a little bit difficult for outsiders to understand why is there a difference between shoulder height and just above shoulder height, but this is the easiest way for us to make it black and white. So we're just trying to keep it as simple as possible. Preparing for my 3rd and final Olympics, and obviously I'm retiring this year from umpiring as well, so I'm looking forward to enjoying my 3rd Olympics. That's a nice little milestone to be able to be the first one to achieve 3 Olympics, yeah, so I'm looking forward to finishing on a high note at the London Olympics.